Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Canadian Gothic, a series by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners, and welcome to the next episode in what may very well be the series I most look forward to producing. Madelayne, Klein, and I look forward all month to the next collection of creep encounters that we get to cringe along to together. And tonight, we're going to present the 8th volume of our listener-contributed Encounters with Creeps. We got some questionable cops, some locker room lurkers, fitted sheet and flip-flop fetishists, and there's so much more. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into another round of your creep encounters. Ms. Madelayne Klein, it's volume 8 of Creep Encounters. We're pumping these out. I think we've done 6 in the last 4 months, maybe?
Because it's our favorite episode.
Do you like calling them volume 8 rather than like part 8? Does it sound more...
It just sounds more legit.
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit more professional, volumes. If you will. We're professional so seldom. So...
Yeah, we went with the name volume. But like part 4, part 5, that sounds like a horror movie franchise. Volume 8, volume 9... That sounds like a collection of like psychological analysis documents. And that's what we're doing here.
That's right. It sounds like a magazine.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get into the encounters with creeps that we're going to cringe at together, let me ask you the question that we dread every week. What's new with you? What's going on over there?
I've been thinking about it and I've been making like a little mental list.
Mm-hmm. Do you stress about it?
Oh, yeah. I stress about so little. That's one thing. It's like when you start school or anything and it's like, hey, we're going to go around the room and like say your name and one thing about yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Madelayne and I would rather die than tell you something about myself.
Okay.
Next.
So this is the equivalent of that.
But I have to. But I've got a couple things. So it's been 2 weeks since we've seen each other. There should be something in my life. As we can see in my background, my baby is as big as an eggplant.
But as big as an eggplant, but an eggplant's not the size of a baby, right? Isn't that not a...
This app is wild because...
It's like your baby is the volume of an eggplant, maybe.
Oh, maybe that's it. Because, yeah, it also, like I said in a previous episode, there's like categories on this app. So I think under sports, it was like your baby's the size of a baseball glove. I'm like, it is not.
Gross thing.
Right?
To compare it to. Eggplant, yeah. I think it means your baby is the volume of an eggplant.
It has to mean that. Because don't those vary in size too? It's a fruit, also vegetable, like, whatever.
Long and just skinny. It's just not shaped like a baby.
No, not really. But the point is, I can feel my baby move a lot now. That was the bedrock of this.
Okay, we got there.
So yeah, it's whenever my brother sees me, he asks me, "How's the parasite?"
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and now I can really. It feels like there's something inside of it. Well, I guess there is, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I remember, well, with both of my kids, I remember that time where I would feel it moving and like we'd be like asleep at night, or my wife would be like asleep next to me and I could feel like something else moving in the bed. I had like a memory of that happening, being like, this is weird. We don't have a cat.
We're not there yet. It kind of weirds my husband out. I'm like, feel, and he's like, no thanks.
Oh God, wait till he's changing diapers.
Right?
Suck it up, Mr. Klein. It's gonna get weird. Let's get into a much less comfortable topic to discuss. The 8th volume in our Encounters with Creeps, which I refer to as a listener-led series, because it's the listeners who are sharing with us their encounters with creeps. And I will tell you, in picking out the stories to include in this episode, I was up to my neck in it. I have now a folder of creep encounter stories on my computer that I think we could get up to volume 14 and still probably have some left. We haven't done a Creep Encounters episode in probably about a month. I think maybe yesterday or the day before, I think I got 3 encounters in one day, despite us not even soliciting them. So this is something where people, I think, are welcoming the opportunity to get these stories off their chest. And I'm very happy to be able to provide that platform, but I don't think I could do it without you, Madelayne. So,
Oh, I'm honored.
I hope you're up for holding my hand through another one.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know why, but I love these.
Yeah, it's fun to cringe, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Usually we start these volumes with a modern day creep who has found their way into the mainstream media, into the news. I have one here. It is very creepy, very cringy. This involves a 26-year-old camp counselor in Mississauga who was just recently charged with child pornography related offenses. Let's listen to this and then talk about them.
Peel Police have issued a warning and public alert tonight following the arrest of a volunteer camp counselor on child pornography charges. Investigators say a 6-year-old was filmed in a state of undress inside a washroom at MC Day Camp in Port Credit. The allegations date from December of last year to as recently as July. The accused has been identified as 26-year-old Alexander Clark from Mississauga. He faces 4 charges, including making child pornography and voyeurism. Peel Police say the alleged victim told their parents what happened, and that prompted the ongoing investigation.
Our investigators have executed a search warrant at his residence and have found evidence to believe that there may be further victims. So we are appealing to the public, or if they know anyone who may have been a victim, to please contact our investigators.
Peel Police say Alexander Clark was in the process of being hired as an officer, but that process has since been terminated. Police say the suspect volunteered at MC Day Camp as far back as June 2018. Anyone with information or concerns can contact Peel Police or Crime Stoppers.
He's got the face of a child molester.
Yeah, that guy, Alexander Clark, although he hasn't been proven guilty yet, I do say he's guilty of looking like the type of person who would do that sort of thing.
Absolutely. When you sent me that article, the way my eyes widened, and stuff like this happens all the time, unfortunately, but it's just, it never fails to gross me out and surprise me. I'm just like, why?
For this one, what is it that grosses you out? Is it the fact that he was volunteering at a day camp? Is it the fact that the victim was 6 years old? Or was it the fact that when they searched his residence, they found evidence of other offenses? Which to me says he had like a hard drive full of these voyeuristic videos or photos or whatever of children like probably changing in the locker room at this camp that he was volunteering at.
It was not only those 3 things, but the fact he's been volunteering at the camp since 2018. Like, that's a long time to...
I wonder if the camp... Yeah, was the camp like, Mr. Clark is so generous with his time. He's never asked us for money. He's just... yeah, that's pretty creepy. He also, they said at the end of the news clip we heard that he was in the process of being hired or going through the hiring process with the police department that's investigating him. So he was inches away from being a cop. But not only that, what I found out was that he also currently seems to work for the Canadian Border Service Agency. So that's what his day job is. So this guy would have... He almost had a position of extreme authority as a police officer. He probably would have access to some, I guess, depending on what his job is with the Canadian Border Service Agency, he could potentially have access to vulnerable people.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's pretty fortunate that they got this guy at this point, despite the fact that if he did what they claim, or what they're alleging, it seems like he's gotten away with it for some time. I'm glad he's off the streets now, though.
Well, and thank God they got him before he became a cop, because it seems like cops get away with everything with pay. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. But he clearly has an issue, like a power thing. He works for the, what is it, Border Customs or something?
CBSA, Canadian Border Service Agency. So that there could be a lot of different jobs you could have within that agency, but
and then wants to be a cop. He's got a power thing.
Yeah, just a bad dude. And actually, it's funny because one of the stories we'll talk about tonight involves a creepy cop. Not as creepy as Alexander Clark would have become had he became a cop, I suspect. But let's get into it here. That was the modern day cop. Sadly, there was but that was the modern day creep. Sadly, there was a million other modern day creeps we could have chose. But we'll save those for volume 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's get into the listener contributed stories. And tonight we have them in all forms. I have an email, we have a bunch of voice memos, and I even have a letter. I have a P.O. box that people can send stuff to, and the address for it is on my website, nighttimepodcast.com. Went a couple days back, and I just found an envelope in there addressed to Jordan and Madelayne. And I opened it up, and sure enough, it's a typed up creep encounter story sent all the way from the United States. So we'll get to that one.
Old school. I
cool?
love it.
I like to give you options. So I'm just going to choose 3 for you to pick from. Okay. Would you like to hear about Elena's flip-flop fetishist, Lucas's locker room weirdo, or Marty's creepy neighbor back in the 80s?
Ooh. Let's start off with the flip-flop fetishist.
I like the alliteration. I came up with that. Here it is. So this is Elena's flip-flop fetishist in Pennsylvania. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Elena from Western Pennsylvania, and I wanted to share a creep story. When I was in college, in a small college in Pennsylvania, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, I would go and study on the 3rd floor of the library. And I went to the 3rd floor because usually there was no one there. And there were a lot of desks, and they had big walls in between them, kind of like dividers. So you couldn't see the person that was beside you. And they were kind of set in, if I'm remembering correctly, in groups of 4. So like I said, it was always pretty much deserted up there, maybe 1 or 2 other people at most ever. And one night I went in to study, and my roommate and best friend went to another side of the library. And all of a sudden I noticed that there was somebody who came and sat at the desk across from me, but I couldn't see them because there was those dividers around you, and it was on 3 sides of you. So really, with my head down working, I wasn't even paying attention. And I would take my shoes off to study. I've always preferred to be barefoot, and I just had on flip-flops that night. And so I had my shoes off and kept studying, and we were there for a couple hours, and my roommate came over to get me. And I hadn't noticed the person leave because I was, a good student. And so when I went to put my shoes on to leave, one of my shoes was missing. And at first I was so confused and looking around and, looking under the desks. And then I remembered that the creep had come and sat across from me. And all I can imagine is that he stole my shoe. And I don't even want to think about what he was doing with that shoe. Maybe he just broke his other flip-flop and needed a shoe to get home, but I highly doubt that. So I had to walk a few blocks across campus barefoot, and that is a story of a creep that I will never forget.
Ugh.
So you're the expert here. Did this creep take her shoe? Her flip-flop?
He had to. That's the only logical explanation as to what happened. It didn't just go into another dimension.
It's true. And it's like, if you're there, she would have a book bag, a couple books for whatever it was she was studying. You're in a library, so generally there's maybe a little room under the table, but it'd be the kind of thing you could easily look down and look under. You're not going to lose a flip-flop.
No. And I'm assuming she just kind of took them off under the desk. It's not like she came in and took them off at the door.
Yeah, exactly. They would be right there. And yeah, I think this guy probably took advantage. Remember, she made a point to describe how there were kind of dividers between them.
Yeah.
I wonder if he used that as some kind of security or privacy to kind of slide under grab a flip-flop,
Well, I wonder
slide it in his bag?
he just like walked by and noticed she took them off and was like, "Oh, there's no one around. I am sitting directly across from her and taking
I'm
one
kidding.
of those free of charge."
I've never heard of like a flip-flop. Well, there is foot fetishists, and that's a much more common thing than I think the average person realizes. And if you're a fetishist of feet and you're creepy, stealing someone's flip-flop isn't like out of the question.
Oh no, I think they go hand in hand. They're like very adjacent.
Flip-flops and feet.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure.
I guess-
Like, have you
I
heard?
guess they would be related.
Have you heard of Wiki Feet?
No.
It's like Wikipedia for feet. There's like celebrities' feet on it, and like
Really?
they're rated. Yes.
Do you know by chance a celebrity who has highly rated feet?
The only reason I know that this even exists is because I'm pretty sure all members of the Beaches are on there, which is just like a Canadian girl group that I love. And
But what's on there? Like pictures of their like just like photos of them like at an event and they're zoomed in on their feet.
pretty
I'm like,
much.
Look at this.
Yeah. So now,
Oh, God.
so now every so often one of the girls will post just like a nice picture of themselves, but if their feet are showing, the caption will be like, "Wiki Feet is gonna go off."
I didn't know that existed. I'm
I
going to
know.
have to go and check it out later. But Elena's story, I think, unsettling that someone would take her flip-flop. More unsettling about, what are they doing with her flip-flop. And inconvenient that she had to walk through campus with one flip-flop.
Well, and like, what if those were her favorite pair of flip-flops? I have lost one shoe before. It wasn't stolen. I lost it.
How did you lose a shoe? My kids lose shoes. And I'm like, how did you lose one shoe?
This was in Greece when I was 16, and it was
Okay.
a snakeskin stiletto, and I think I left it in a hotel room. I was very intoxicated the night before,
Oh my gosh.
and then we had to get up the next morning. Mind you, this was on a school trip. I believe I made us 45 minutes late because I could not get up. And yeah, so I got up in the morning and I had to like quickly get all my stuff together. And I'm pretty sure, well, I know I left my shoes somewhere, but I'm pretty sure it was under the bed and I never saw it again.
Okay.
Very disappointing.
But if it's a snakeskin stiletto, I imagine it's not the only pair of shoes you had. So
No.
one could have just gotten lost and you went in your regular shoes.
That's right.
I think, but like in Elena's case, you're out somewhere and you're walking home with one shoe. That's bad. I'm glad she shared the story. Whoever stole her shoe, if you're listening, I hope you get help because that's not right.
I'm glad they didn't interact with her. That's a bonus.
Yeah, that is a bit of that is like a merciful part of the story because we will hear other creep stories where the victim of the creep wasn't so lucky.
Right. And also, I just want to point out, I'm pretty sure she just walked home barefoot with no shoes on. I would rather walk home with no shoes than one shoe.
That's true.
Now she looks like the crazy
Yeah, our next
one.
creep story. I saw this
If she's
girl on
wearing
campus 7 years ago. She had one shoe. Let's go away from a voice memo. I'm going to read you an email. This is from Phil in BC. He writes and calls into the show often, but I don't believe he's ever shared a creep encounter. Here's what he has to say. Hello, Jordan and Madelayne. Longtime listener from BC here, Phil. I'm chiming in regarding encounters with creeps. This isn't actually my story, but came from a friend of mine who was in his early 20s at the time. So it was 1980s, and it was in Castlegar, BC. The story involved my friend and his girlfriend, and they relayed the story to me immediately after it happened. My friend's girlfriend was shopping for a new bathing suit at a local sporting goods store and was trying on many different bathing suits. My friend noticed that every time his girlfriend entered the change room, the store proprietor would walk into the back room out of view, which made my friend suspicious. He then prompted his girlfriend to try on another swimsuit. When the proprietor went in the back room, my friend waited a few seconds and then quietly followed him into the back room. There he saw the proprietor peeking through a hole in the wall, watching his girlfriend change into said swimsuit. My friend started yelling at the proprietor, who by now was stammering and trying to make excuses, but he was clearly caught red-handed. My friend told the proprietor that they were taking a bathing suit for free, as well as a $200 pair of shoes, otherwise they would be in contact with the police. It turns out they went to the police anyway. The next day, the store was closed for renovations. When it opened back up a few days later, the location of the changing room was moved to prevent any further unwanted prying eyes. From that day forward, we referred to this specific store as Peepers.
Oh my God.
Phil is he's a trusted news source and a trusted source of creep encounters. I believe that story to be true.
Oh, even if he didn't regularly write in or whatever, I would believe it. People are weird, and the victims saw an opportunity and took it.
Well, how do you feel about that? To capitalize on
Why not?
the situation.
Do what you gotta do, man. That might be considered blackmail, or like extortion, maybe.
Oh man, yeah, because that's kind of a slippery slope. Because the creep could really turn that around.
But oh well, yeah, I don't blame them, and I'm glad they went to the cops anyway too. They really had their cake and ate it too.
Yeah, because I don't think the creep who's like the peeping Tom creep at the store watching your girlfriend change. I don't think you deserve to like give them like this handshake agreement. You give me $200 in the shoes
because how many other victims are there?
Yeah, exactly. Just like the story we heard at the beginning with the creep filming the children, allegedly. Here's a good one. This is a task for us. This is Daisy in Nanaimo, who is going to share a story and ask us to help her decide if the person in the story is a creep. And Daisy doesn't only give her opinion. This is, as you'll hear, this story kind of plays out on Facebook. So other commenters are chiming in, and she walks us through the whole kind of discourse surrounding this story. So listen to Daisy asking us, and this is Daisy in Nanaimo asking us, is this man a creep? Listen to this.
Hi guys, it's Daisy calling from Nanaimo, BC. And here in Nanaimo, we have a Facebook group called Nanaimo's Creeps Exposed. And the other day there was a post that I just was interested in your opinion on whether this guy is a creep or not. Because in the comments to the post, there was varying opinions, but I'd say most people didn't think he was a creep, and I personally think he is. So here it goes. A woman, Kayla, posted, creepy middle-aged dude asking to hire me for $20 to $25 an hour to help him fold sheets. Pink shorts, left side of his hair shaved, and the right side long and blonde. Near Nickel Street, Dairy Queen. Super weird. So here's some of the Facebook comments to her post. No damn way it worth $25 an hour for folding fitted sheets. That's Dan. Next person said, maybe he just needed help. Ever thought of that? Seems like you're the creep. He literally asked help to fold sheets. I would have been like, wear the sheets, and then helped him for free. Next comment. You reported him to the police because he asked you a creepy question? That's not a police problem unless you're under 18. Take his picture and post it here so we can all make fun of him, but don't waste the cops' time. Next comment. Seems to me he just gave her a job offer. I'd fold sheets for $25 an hour. Maybe he thought she was homeless. Kind of looks homeless to me. The man sounds like a philanthropist, honestly. Next comment. So some guy offered you a housekeeping job and you called the police? Do you want a gold star for being a drama queen? Next time say no thank you and walk away. So guys, what's your opinion? Is this guy a creep for asking people to fold this woman to fold sheets?
First, I want more of those.
Yeah,
that was great.
That was Facebook in a nutshell, eh?
Oh, and like, you know me, I love stuff like that.
Oh yeah, like once we're done, you're joining Nanaimo Creeps Exposed.
Absolutely.
Those kind of Facebook groups are amazing. I love that kind of drama, and I love the people chiming in, like, maybe you're the creep, or like, this guy's a philanthropist.
He offered you a housekeeping job.
Yeah, like everyone will have such, you go on Facebook and you go through the comments, or on YouTube, it's some of the opinions people have. You're like, this, you have to be joking, but no, there's just, people have such differing views on situations. What we know about the story is a man approached a woman. We don't know ages or whatever. The man had one side of his head shaved. The other was long and blonde, and he had shorts on, I think is what I got from that.
I think pink
And
shorts.
Pink shorts.
If that makes a difference.
Well, we got to go with every detail because we know it's so little. And he offered her $25 an hour, I think it was, to fold sheets. I don't know if it's creepy or if it's weird.
It's weird. No question about that. But, however, have you ever tried to fold a fitted sheet? I'm 30 years old and still call my mom to do it. What I do is like I fold-ish it.
Right? Like it's kind of folded up and squished a bit. I don't know, but if you're paying it by the hour, it's like unless this guy
how many
owns a
sheets
hotel,
do you have?
Yeah.
And that was my next question. It's like, well, this is, is it going to take an hour, even just one, to fold these sheets? How many are there?
Yeah, and unless there was, here's how I'm going to say it is, if there wasn't a hotel right there, then this guy's a creep.
Yeah, weird for sure. I don't know. I don't have enough information because looks can be deceiving. Just because he looks like a weirdo. Well, he probably is a weirdo, but maybe he is a philanthropist and just needed help. But was he also asking everyone else that walked by, or just the pretty girl?
That's true.
That's also need to know information.
Yeah, I think the two possibilities are he runs a hotel kind of thing, and she would have got a job literally going from room to room folding sheets. But why would you describe it as folding sheets? I need you to clean and reset the rooms or something. Not like fold the sheets. I think if she agreed, she would have went up to this guy's apartment and just folded the same sheet. And as he unfolded it and folded it up, and he would watch her, I guess.
A sheet folding fetish?
Well, some last guy stole flip-flops.
But you know what? At least he offered her money. At least he wasn't expecting anything for free.
Yeah, I guess there's that. But I'm going creep.
It's borderline for me. Weird, absolutely. I don't have enough. I'd like to try and give people the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. I don't think he's a philanthropist.
No. Just because I've met a lot of what word am I looking for here? Weird people. So let's just call a spade a spade. I know a lot of weird people, but being weird doesn't automatically make you a creep.
That's true.
Or looking weird, I should say.
But it is it can be a distant cousin.
And it's a left field offer. It's like, what?
Okay.
Folding sheets.
This story actually relates or it has some similarities to another story on this list. Let's jump into Michaela's story. This involves a creep she encountered at a hotel where she was a housekeeper. And before I get into it, I should give a warning. There is some, I don't know if it's foul language. Let's just say this one's heavy. Here we go. I can't wait to see your face when you hear this one.
Hello, Jordan and Madelayne. Here is my encounter with a creep. It was the summer of 2019. I was working as a housekeeper at a resort in British Columbia. One morning, I was cleaning a stayover when I heard a knock on the door. Thinking it was my supervisor, I opened it, and a man was standing there. He said that he had stained his bed sheets, and he would appreciate it if I could come change them for him. Entering his room with him still in there, I started to make his bed, and he sat on a bench and watched me make the bed, and we chatted for a little bit while I did so.
I just got to stop it for 1 second. At the beginning, she mentioned that she works at a hotel, and she said where it was. Did you catch where it was?
BC?
Yeah, but I'm just realizing that Daisy and Nanaimo, who read that Facebook post, was in Nanaimo, BC. Is this in?
Oh, she was Nanaimo. I definitely got BC.
So Daisy, who had the Facebook thing about the guy offering someone the money to change the sheets, that was in Nanaimo because it was Nanaimo Creeps Exposed.
Right.
I'm gonna rewind this thing a little bit here because I'm starting to think this might be the same guy, and I'm just putting this together now live. So I'm going to back this up.
It was the summer of 2019. I was working as a housekeeper at a resort in British Columbia. One morning, I was cleaning a stayover.
Okay, she doesn't say where.
A
Let's
resort.
just continue to listen to it. But they're in the same province, so let's go from here.
I started to make his bed, and he sat on a bench and watched me make the bed, and we chatted for a little bit while I did so. While making small talk, he mentioned what he did for work, and I said that my husband does the same type of work. I'm not married, but I like to insert my partner into conversations as much as possible, especially when I'm talking to strangers, men strangers specifically. His sheets were stained because he had laid flower petals on them, and I said that that was romantic and it must have been for some special occasion. And he said, nope, I had an escort here. Red flag number one. I said, oh, okay, dropped the topic and moved on. I told him that my supervisor was coming upstairs any minute to film me cleaning a room for a company video. With the bed made, I left his room and went to the next where my supervisor was planning to come see me. I was just kind of in the room waiting, but the man came to the door. He asked if he could speak to me in his room, and I said that I cannot. My supervisor will be here any minute, and I need to be in here. He said, please, it'll only take a second, and extremely hesitantly, I agreed. I came out of my room, and we started walking to his. I was leading the way, and just assumed that it had something to do with the bed that I had made. Everything in my body was telling me to turn around and go back. I knew I should not go in there with him. It was highly suspicious. But I'm a people pleaser, and I was putting my trust in this man that I'd be okay, as we are trained to be nice and polite to our customers in the hotel industry. So since I was leading the way, I used my key card and just walked into his room with him behind me. As soon as I walked through that door, there was a porn playing on the TV. And as soon as I noticed that, I turned around and said, out. I want out now. And he just said, hold on, hear me out. So I obeyed. I stood where I was, extremely uncomfortable, while he explained what he wanted. He said, and I quote, would you mind if I licked your butthole for a little while? I said, what? He said that he had seen me earlier in the morning and liked the way I looked, and that his escort was coming back later and he would enjoy doing this in the meantime. I told him no, that my supervisor will be up here any minute and I have to go back to the room. He was very nice about me saying no, but still wouldn't let me leave. So I tried to flatter him by saying in another life, or if I wasn't married, then maybe, but I cannot today. He said, okay, well, let's do a hand hug. I said, what is that? He put his palm up facing me and asked me to do the same. We put our palms together and wrapped our thumbs around each other. And he said, this is called a hand hug. And I said that this is very sweet. And I said that I have to go now. And he opened the door and he let me leave. I just walked back to the checkout that I was in before and waited for my supervisor to come up. I never said anything to anyone, not even my husband, quote unquote husband. I wish that I had said something, brought it up to the supervisor or management, or let them know what happened. I didn't know where he got the confidence from, especially after me telling him my supervisor was coming upstairs and telling him that I was married, even though I'm not. He just felt like he could do anything he wanted and that I was at his disposal. This could have ended way worse. It was a stupid mistake not trusting my gut, and I regret it with my whole being. All I can say is that I learned a lot of lessons from this experience, and if any other thing happened like this again, I know how to hold my own and go nowhere alone with another stranger. Thank you for listening. I know this was long, but thanks for sticking through it. I love you guys. Keep on keeping it real.
I don't think I even want to talk about that one.
I commend her for being so nice, because I would have gotten real mean real quick.
A reoccurring thread in these volumes, often this feeling of like, I want to be nice, I need to be nice, my job requires me to be nice.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I learned through all this, it's that creeps will prey on people at work because they feel obliged to be nice to them. And I think in this case, like anything short of like screaming and running out of there and this guy getting kicked out of the hotel is like way too generous. But I could almost tell when she was describing the way she handled it, she was just so conflicted.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation. I don't think I would have been as patient as she was, but who knows?
Well, And yeah, this guy just confuses me because he talks about getting escorts and an escort coming back. So like so he's familiar with sex work, which is fine. And like it's just odd. Just get someone that does that for a living, not a hotel maid.
Yeah. And I stopped the recording there because we wanted to listen to him, to listen to the location. When he got her, because she was in his room twice. The first time was to fold the sheets as he sat and watched. The second time was when he popped the question. Was the first? Do you think in the first time she was in there, was he planning to ask her then, or was he getting her in there because he enjoyed watching her flip the sheets or whatever it was she's doing? Like I'm just wondering if, do you think this could be the same guy, or was this just a tentative creep where he needed
I don't
the
know.
right opportunity?
Yeah, oh, that probably both. Probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
But and then like I realize hindsight's 2020, and even now she like regrets almost all of her actions. But it's the second he said we can hand hug, I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like I need you to step out of my fucking way.
Yeah,
Like,
what was creepier, him asking her if he could do that to her while waiting for the escort and before her boss comes, or the hand hug? Like after that awkward moment, be like, let's just do a hand hug. That
be
is
like,
like some serial killer stuff.
right? Well, and
Hmm.
for whatever reason, and she did try. She said like I wanted to be nice and everything. I wonder if this man was generally like handsome or attractive, because I would I would be, even if my spidey senses were tingling in that situation, I would be more inclined to follow a handsome stranger into his room than someone that looked like Robert Pickton.
Yeah, this big greasy nut. Yeah,
You
I have a
know?
feeling maybe this was like a Ted Bundy kind of guy, like a little
Right.
charming and attractive and handsome,
Yeah.
and that would allow her maybe to be like, I'm going to trust this guy, that this is okay. That she used those words, like I was going to trust this man, that it was going to be all right going back to his room.
Yeah.
And when we hear the story, we're like, ooh, red flag, that's weird. But she didn't get that sense, I guess, or didn't get it as strongly in the moment. So yeah, maybe he was just the unassuming creep who comes out and says that.
Yeah. Or just like very average looking. Just like you would have never thought that's what he was gonna say or do or whatever. But
I bet you if you are a maid, a housekeeper, or whatever at a hotel, you see some stuff. And so many of those jobs are like the temporary foreign workers and, this sort of thing. Like, oh man, I bet you they got some stories to tell. I wouldn't want to
I
do that work.
never. I could imagine, yeah, the stories they have or just the things they find in the aftermath. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, I never even thought about that. I thought more just like bringing up room service and all that kind of stuff to like these creepy, horny weirdos. But yeah, you got to clean up the beds and stuff after them and the bathrooms. Yeah, that's a horror show.
Ugh.
If anyone's listening to this and they do that kind of work, contact me. I would love to hear some stories of people who do that kind of work. And we can keep it anonymous. If you're currently doing it, you don't want to lose your job by appearing on a podcast talking about the gross stuff you've seen.
Well, and because especially for like really creepy weirdos, they're perfect victims. They're there. They have to enter the room at one point. Ugh, those poor women and men, I'm sure, but ugh.
Let's go with the Lucas's locker room weirdo in Ohio. So we're going to cross the border again. Buckle up.
Hello, Jordan. This is Lucas from Ohio, calling for Encounters from the Creeps. I love your show. I've worked out for over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of creepy things in locker rooms. Well, at this one gym I used to go to, there was this guy. At first, he would just walk around naked in a locker room and just be holding his towel. Thing that made it real creepy is the guy was always at the gym, but it was obvious he didn't work out. And when you seen him out on the workout floor, he'd be doing like side twists, side bends, things like that. He was never really working weights. And when he was on cardio equipment, he'd be going very slow. Anyway, this guy, he would often creep out of the shower and stand in back of people while they were, washing their hands or, looking at themselves in the mirror. So you would see him. And there were some high up air dryers in which you could use to assist with, like, I'm guessing, like, dry your hair or something. And sometimes he would stand right below that, just fully nude, no towel, and just be standing there stoically staring at people. Eventually, it got to the point where he would creep out of the shower when you were by the mirror, and he would be soaping himself up and just standing in back of him. So he would get soaped up in the shower, then standing back of you, soaping himself up, and just creepily staring at you. So obviously, me, I would hurry up and just finish washing my hands and just get out of that locker room as soon as possible. I told some of my friends about this guy who went to the same gym, and they swore I was making it up. Then one day, one of the friends said that I jinxed him because he said it happened to him. And then, like, another week, one of the other friends said, "Man, I thought you was making that up. That happened to me. That dude got out the shower and was standing back." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm not making that up. The dude was like a serious pervert." I think that was the only reason he was really at the gym. Because, like I said, the guy was not in shape. And you never saw him touching weights. And he wasn't taking any kind of workout seriously. But I just wanted to share that story. That's my creep encounter. Keep, doing the Encounters with the Creeps, Keep Canada Weird, and Nighttime Podcast. Jordan, I'll keep listening. Take care.
I love that story. Not because of the creep, but just because of the way he told it.
If I could listen to him talk all day. I love his accent.
Yeah. So that he's in, or at least that story was set in Ohio. Is that like an Ohio accent?
I
Because
guess.
to me it sounded a bit more like Texas or something.
Southern, yeah. But, well.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. This guy was a serious pervert.
Then he jinxed his friend.
But what was the guy doing other than he was soaping himself up, which is, this is why I don't want to ever go to like a men's locker room. This is what I picture happens in a locker room at like a public gym or something, is just someone rubbing soap on themselves while staring at you. Is that what he? It's almost like a creepy horror movie where this guy would come in the mirror behind you when you're washing your hands, so you see him
like a prison
in the reflection, movie. And he's just soaping himself up, staring at you. Like, that's horrifying.
It's the eye contact. It's the staring aspect of it, because all of that is like, I think, normal locker room behavior. I don't know. I don't work out. I never really have. So I can't weigh in.
Yeah. Well, it's this soaping up of yourself in a shower is, I think, it's like a kind of an intimate moment. And I don't think you should ever lock eyes with someone other than like your life partner while you're doing that.
Right. At a public male change room.
Yeah, it seems a little creepy. And then what about the other thing? We glossed over the fact that for some reason there was a fan in the ceiling that blew air down, I guess some kind of ventilation. And he said this man would stand under the fan completely naked with his arms stretched out. That is also creepy.
It just kept getting creepier and creepier. It was like he went to the gym and like timed himself and how long to be in the gym before he could go into the change room. Be like, oh, finally, I can go in now.
Yeah, I do like that his friends like caught it from him though.
Well, I would like to hear from more of these people that frequented this gym, because someone had to have said something one day. Well, and it's dudes working out. There had to have been some guy on steroids that was like, "Why the F are you staring at me? Do you want to fight?" Like, yeah,
that seems like a real good way to get your head beaten in a bathroom.
Yeah, like I'm
at a gym.
I'm sure not every man was as passive as this one.
Yeah, this guy, Lucas, washes his hands and gets out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guarantee there was a lot of other guys at the gym who would
be like, "What are you staring at? Get away from me."
Yeah, if any of you are out there, call in. Let's get on to the next one here. This is a story from Amanda, who is also sort of, well, I don't know if she's asking us, but I think we're going to have to ask each other, is this cop a creep? Listen to this.
I hope it's from Facebook.
Hi, Jordan. Hi, Madelayne. This is for the creep stories that you guys are featuring. I was about 30 years old and had a son in hockey and another little one at home. And I had a creepy story with a police officer, and I have kind of had trust issues ever since. I was walking in town getting exercise, and I had a police officer that was kind of driving around slowly, and then he kept going around the block a few times and was smiling at me. And then he stopped up a little bit ahead and waited for me to keep walking. And he said, "Hey, excuse me, how are you? You know, blah, blah, blah." And then he proceeds to ask me about a girl who ironically lives on that street, if I was related to her or if I knew who she was. And I said no. And he said, "Well, you look like her." So I said, "Well, I'm sorry, officer, I don't know who you're talking about." And then I said, "Thanks, you know, I got to get going. I got to go see my kids." And then he left and I left, and it was just kind of creepy. But then a couple days later, I was taking my son to hockey, and the police officer followed my car into the arena and then proceeded to follow me into the arena and watched me the entire time my son was playing hockey. And then he left, 5 minutes before the game was over. And then I proceeded to see him a few more times in town, and I'm not sure why I didn't report it, but it just really creeped me out that it was a police officer that was following me like that. Anyways, I hope that you guys get a ton more of these creep stories so we can keep everyone on our toes, and thanks for doing an awesome job. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
The cop didn't outwardly do anything creepy. It could be coincidental or a misunderstanding or something, but it does seem a little creepy.
I am convinced this guy's a creep. Always go with your gut. Mm-hmm. And she felt uneasy. I'm on her side. Why did he keep showing up?
Yeah, let's talk it out. So she's walking, and he drives by smiling at her a few times, and then he asks her about someone that she may or may not look like. So
who probably doesn't even exist.
To play devil's advocate, that would tell me he is like maybe investigating someone, or if he legitimately thought she looked like someone, that's one thing that could happen. But to coincidentally, unless it's a town of 25 people, to coincidentally a few days later come into this parking lot behind her, follows her in, as she puts it, and goes into the hockey arena, and she sees him looking in her direction. Like, yeah, I can't really place why he would do that other than he's a creep.
Well, exactly. And in the first interaction, didn't she say, like, I need to go pick up my boy from hockey or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So either he followed her or, like, noticed where she went in that day and then decided to go in the next time. Or, yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. Okay. Because if he did have any business being there, he would have said something during the first interaction.
Yes,
he would have been like, "Oh, I go there too," for whoever.
Mm-hmm. The cop, like the creepy cop, is such a bad thought.
It's because they're supposed to be trusted. Yeah.
But, we opened this episode with a story about a guy who was like inches away from becoming a cop, only to be found, or only to have that whole process derailed when he was alleged to be caught filming a 6-year-old in the bathroom and probably a bunch of other kids in that bathroom. I think you convinced me. I'm going to go with my gut. My gut is telling me something's not right about this cop's behavior, with what we know here, I'm going to say this man is a creep.
Totally. I don't know. I find it very odd how it takes 6 months to become a cop and like 3 years to become a lawyer. Like, it's like they just let anyone in.
We just said, like, cops are someone you should trust. Some cops are creepy. This next story also involves a cop, but in the role of investigating a creep. You'll see how this plays out. This is Marty's creepy neighbor back in the 80s.
Hi, Jordan. My name is Marty. I'm calling about something that happened to me in the 80s. What a decade that was. This would be a creepy neighbor situation. I moved into a story and a half house, and I had the half, which was the upstairs, but there was no actual door on the attic room, so that anyone could really just walk up the stairs and enter my room at any time. Now, the young couple that I was renting from, they were very sweet. They were very good landlords, but they ended up taking in another guy, and this is the creep, as you can probably imagine. So he was quite a bit older than I was. I was only 19. He would have been maybe in his mid-30s, and it took an immediate liking to me, and paid me all kinds of attention that I didn't want. He would do things like we'd be watching TV down in the den, and he'd put his feet near mine and then try to rub my feet with his feet, which was, oh my God, I almost vomited when he did that. But the worst thing he ever did was, I was in bed up in my room, and he, in the middle of the night, decided to come up and get in bed beside me. Well, when I realized he was there, I jumped out of bed and I was just doing a dance, like get the cooties off me. I was just like, I was just totally grossed out, and I was screaming at him to get the fuck out of my room. And anyways, another creepy thing happened to follow that. I called the police on him to explain what had happened to the police, to see if there was anything that I could do. And the police came back at me saying, well, why don't you have a door on your room? And how many sexual partners do you have typically per week? Yeah, that was the 80s, and this was in Ontario. It seemed like the misogyny back then was completely rampant. And this cop, I could not believe what he was saying to me. But yeah, that's what happened. So I'm going to leave that with you, and love your show. It always brings me a lot of enjoyment to listen to your show, and it makes me think too. So thank you so much. Take care.
So I don't know what part of that's more upsetting. Is it the creep climbing into her bed at night, or the cop just being a complete knob in the investigation? But police aren't known for how they handle these kind of complaints.
Oh, no. God, no. Even just recently, well, like I'd say within the last year, I'm pretty sure it was on Facebook, or, maybe it was even here. And no, I think it was on Facebook. But a woman, she was a mental health nurse, and she was, I believe, sexually assaulted at work, but maybe like physically assaulted. Anyway, she wanted to press charges, and she went to report the assault. And the female officer working was like, aren't you used to this? Like, doesn't this happen all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, What year is it? And what's wrong with you? Like,
yeah, I don't like that one. The idea of living, aside from the police handling of this angle, the idea of living in like a shared space and not having like a lock on your door, that's uncomfortable for me. I had a friend who lived in a boarding house, which was like you had a shared common area, like a kitchen, living room, a couple bathrooms, but then all the unrelated people would rent individual bedrooms. And I always found it weird going to his place because we could go hang out in his room, but it's like he didn't know all the other people that he shared space with. Some would rent just a month here and there. Some had been living there for years. And I always found it a little creepy.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I ever told you about this story, but my friend knew one of the long-term tenants of this boarding house, so the guy who lived in the basement. And when I was there one time visiting, he knew I was uncomfortable there. And he's like, let me bring you downstairs and meet whoever the guy in the basement is, Mike or Mark or something. this maybe 10 years ago. I may have told this story on the show before, but I don't think you heard it. But anyway, he brought me down to meet this guy. It was this older man living in this little room in the basement of a boarding house in Toronto. He had a little TV by his bed, a little end table, and then he had shelves that should have been bookshelves, but they were full of like spaghetti and spaghetti sauce cans. So he had like a wall of it, and that's like all he ate. But we went in, and he was really excited and happy to meet me. And he's like, "Ah, Jordan, my name's whatever. It was Mark or Mike or something. I've been living here for 25 years." And he said, "Since you're here, you seem like a good guy. I want to show you the 9s and 10s." And my friend knew this was coming, and my friend's like, "Yeah, you're going to love the 9s and 10s." And he reached under his bed, and he pulled out like shoe boxes. One had a 9 on it, and the other had a 10 on it. And when he put them on his bed and he opened them up, and what it was clippings from magazines. And he had all the girls that he thought were 10s in one shoebox and all the 9s in the other shoebox. And he allowed me to look through some of them.
Oh, well, that was nice of him.
Very creepy thing to do to a new friend.
What kind of magazines are we talking about? Were these like naked women or just
No.
Okay.
This could have been
like
Sears
magazine.
catalogs, People magazine. Okay. But a lot of it looked like clothing stores and stuff. Just like models, but not like swimsuit models or anything. Just like girls women he ranked as 9 or 10. And my friend and I still joke about it. And yeah, at the time I was younger, I didn't think it as weird as it was now, but maybe that was my creep encounter.
I wonder if he's still there.
This guy didn't seem like he was getting up and moving anytime soon. I'll put it that way.
Oh.
Let's close out the night with what I'm going to call an honest creep. This is Stacy's very honest creep. You'll see what I mean.
Hey, Jordan. My name's Stacy, longtime listener. I have many encounters with creeps, but I'll just give you one for now. I had tried online dating many, many years ago when it was kind of a newer thing. And I had met a guy for a walk at a public park, and we were walking around the walking loop around the lake. And just all of a sudden, we were just having normal conversation. He said, I'm not going to use the same words he did because they're filthy, but he said he only had a 3-inch penis, but he used a different word, followed by, but I have a 6-inch tongue and I can breathe through my ears. I almost died. Bye.
I enjoy, but I almost died. Bye.
How do you respond to that? What do you say?
I say he's an honest creep because at least he came out and said it.
I guess, but he could have just stopped and maybe worded it a little better.
Yeah, but I don't know why he would feel the need to. What's his motivation here?
Well,
this is online dating,
and it was a first date too.
Yeah, and they also, presumably through online dating, they would have had some ability to communicate. So if he really wanted her to know, like, I'm a freak, he could have wrote that to her. Like, that maybe have been better than, like, I'm going to bring her to the park. Like, how many people would you need to bring to the walking trail and say this to before you get one that's like, okay. I'm also wild.
I'm just baffled.
And Stacy, her voice, the way she composed herself in that message, she seemed just the sweet lady. She couldn't even, like, she had to say penis.
Well, exactly. So, like, how do you respond? How do you wrap that up as like an interaction? Be like, okay, well, thanks, but no thanks. I'll catch you later, but not really. Yeah. Please don't message me.
Yeah, she left the voice memo without telling us how she got out of the park. Like, did they continue to walk, and did she have to play it cool?
Yeah, I don't. Well, and it makes you wonder if he has said that to other women, which he probably has. And more importantly, has it worked on anyone? Has someone been like,
Well,
that's fine?
or like sweet.
Or like, yeah,
Sweet.
cool.
I think that stuff will work if you do it enough. And that's why there's like catcalling so much. It's like you can just be on the street corner and just yell at girls day in and day out, or yell at women or whatever, day in and day out. Eventually someone is going to fall for it or something. I don't know if fall
Reciprocate.
For it's the word. Reciprocate. They must, right?
They've got to. It's got to work at some point. Otherwise, why would they keep doing it?
I think in this case, though, what surprises me is that he would wait until like meeting her, walking around the park. It just seems like it's a big Hail Mary to throw. And to have that much work to kind of throw that Hail Mary just seems like he's wasting a lot of time. He could just say that right off the bat.
It's also a lot harder to reject someone to their face. So that could be his motive.
I don't know.
Like, if I say it, if I tell them in person, they are gonna feel really awkward and they won't be able to reject me.
I need to Google something here.
What?
Actually, I'm not gonna. I'm just wondering.
What
like,
are you Googling?
When he says, "I have like a 3-inch," like it's not like it's abnormally off to the point that he needs to tell her this on the first day. I'm just wondering why he's telling her this stuff.
And what followed? Yeah, now I'm intrigued. What was his motive?
I know. Like, was he expecting her to be like, well, let's go right now?
Right. Well, let's go right now.
Let's stop the walk on the park and...
Yeah. You never know. You'd think that approach would work better at like a bar with alcohol involved.
But there's also
if that was his approach.
He's also not propositioning her. It seems like he's really worried about letting her down with the first part of his statement and like making it up in advance. But just so you know, like when that disappoints you.
But maybe that was a segue into a proposition.
Maybe he's been burned so many times. He's gone on these dates. There's been a first date in the park. There's been a second date at the steakhouse. He's a great guy, a perfect gentleman. Eventually, they start to fall in love. They have intercourse, and the women just leave because they're not satisfied. And maybe he wants to prevent that.
Maybe. That makes me feel a little bit bad for him.
I know I feel horrible for this guy. I wish the philanthropist with the sheet guy would hire him.
They make a good team.
I suppose.
I guess. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. This isn't. I'm going to put this in the category of probably a creep, but an unsolved mystery.
Yeah.
Why, sir?
Well, and like, it doesn't matter what his motive was with saying this. It would clearly make anyone uncomfortable.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
Be like, oh.
Change your approach, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever you're trying to do, you're not going to get it done here.
This is not the way to go about it.
So that's that's volume 8 of Creep Encounters. So tonight we had stories from all over the place. We had the flip-flop fetishist. Is this man a creep? The locker room weirdo, the hotel creep, the cop who may be a creep, the creepy neighbor from the 80s, and the crappy cop who investigated him, and Stacy's weirdly honest and open creep. Which one is going to keep you up tonight?
Ooh, the hotel one. Yeah,
the hand hug.
The hand
I'm
hug.
raising the palms of my hand to you. That is, I think that's it. This idea of someone asking you this like vile question in the most inappropriate position, time, or place, and then letting you walk away after.
Up with that.
Let's do a hand hug. That is pretty creepy.
I was just gonna say, we sound so awful that like the hand hug is what gets us, but it's the fact that like it's what preceded it.
Yeah, in the middle of like in that moment to introduce the hand hug, it would have been equally weird. Yeah, it'd be equally, because I've never heard of a hand hug. Why then in that moment to be like, this is what it is, touch by? It would be no less weird for him to be like, before you go, like after I asked you that,
Can I have a
let
high
me
five?
just, I'm going to sing you a song. I'm going to sing
Exactly.
Happy Birthday randomly. Like it's equally like, what?
Yeah, people just never fail to amaze me with how weird they are. Ugh.
There's a lot of creeps. And I'm sure we're going to, when I release this episode, I'm sure we're going to receive more creep encounter stories, and I welcome them. If you've encountered a creep, or if you work at housekeeping, I would like to hear those stories. I'm calling out to them specifically, but any encounters with creeps, weird first dates, weird roommates, odd customers at work or coworkers, go to nighttimepodcast.com/contact. Send Madelayne and I a voice memo, and we'll feature you in volume 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe even 13.
13's going to be a weird one. Lucky 13.
Madelayne, before we wrap it up, anything you're working on, anything you got coming up, anything you want to tell us about?
I've got a couple videos for YouTube I got to edit. One's about our last podcast, Logan Ring. And then I did another inmate video.
Okay, the dating inmates.
Oh, those are just so... And it's the Dangerous Offenders edition.
Oh, cool. And we did the episode together where we read some dating inmate profiles. You made some TikTok videos, and they're gone wild, right?
People love them. They
That is awesome.
are insane, yeah. Well, the viewers aren't. The just the fact that people love this stuff.
Yeah, what a world. Well, I look forward to your upcoming videos on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere else, and I look forward to finding out what we're going to talk about next Thursday for our next chat together.
I'm sure we'll scare something up.
I want to thank you for joining Madelayne, Klein, and I for this episode of Nighttime. And I'm going to start wrapping up this episode, but before I do, let me end with some thanks. First, a huge and sincere thank you to everyone who took time to share their creep encounters with us. These stories serve as a great reminder for all of us to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to any other listeners out there who think they may have a story to share, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more episodes in this series, and I'd love to feature your story. You can share it with Madelayne and I at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. If you got something you want to say, go to my site now. The voice recorder is very easy to use, and if you make any mistakes or misspeak, I'm going to edit it before it goes on to air. So don't worry, you're going to sound your best. We both hope to hear from you. Next, I want to give a shout out to Monty, Datta, who contributes the music for this series, LJ from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers, and lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Stacy, LM, and Krista, I appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs only a couple dollars a month, and both funds the creation of the show while giving you access to an ad-free 2-day early release date and access to a full back catalog of episodes. And if for whatever reason you can't go premium, you can still help the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and telling all your like-minded friends about the work we're doing here. If anyone listening has any story ideas, wants to give feedback on the show, or wants to respond to any of the stories we heard tonight, you can contact us at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. Again, we hope to hear from you, but until then, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte.
Let's get on to the next one. Actually, I'm going to step away from the voice memos and let's get to this snail mail. I don't get a lot of mail to my P.O. box. When I do, it's often like a little trinket, like here's a bookmark or, like these sorts of things, like nice little gifts, which I think is always very sweet. And I usually share them on social media whenever I get something like that. Very rarely do you get a letter that somebody writes. This letter was addressed to you and I, which is very cool to see on the envelope together. We're officially friends. Let me just
cool.
jump right into it. It is cool. It's a bit long, and I'll do my best to read it. I suck at reading, honestly. Hello, Jordan and Madelayne. I thought I would submit my story about my encounter with a creep when I was only 5 years old. Yes, you read that correctly. Only 5. You can call me old-fashioned, but I enjoy writing letters, so I decided to tell you and your listeners my story via mail. When I was in kindergarten, I was a student at a religious private school. My kindergarten teacher had a son who was roughly in his early 20s at the time. He would often visit from college. All the staff knew him, and he was free to roam the campus grounds. He came to our class, and we were all introduced, and he seemed nice enough. It was during recess a few days later, while watching the other kids play kickball, that it happened. I was with my friends when he came over to us and asked if he remembered who he was. I said, "Yes, you're Mrs. H's son." He smiled and then directed his eyesight to me, where he casually caressed my cheek, ick, and proceeded to say he would see us around, but he never stopped staring at me as he walked away. The next incident was about a year later. I was in the 1st grade. As I walked past him on my way to the bathroom, he once again gave me that smile and commented on how pretty and how grown up I had become over the last year. I just nervously smiled and continued walking, but that made me feel very uncomfortable. It became a little mission of mine to always be on the lookout and avoid him as much as I could. Finally, another year later, in the 2nd grade, my crush and him were playing basketball, and I walked by and I said hi to my crush. Sorry, she names the creep. I said hi to him, and he asked, Why didn't I say hi to him? I was his girlfriend, right? What? My stomach turned. I had said nothing and made the decision to tell my mom everything. She did what every mother should do and immediately reached out to the headmaster to request a meeting to voice her concerns for me. The school administration defended him, saying he was like that with everyone. Even the older women on the staff noticed he was flirtatious at times. My mom was very clear that if anything happened again that made me feel uncomfortable, she would pull me out of the school. I never saw him again, and I attended the school until the 4th grade without incident, but eventually my mom put me in a public school. A few years later, the school eventually shut its doors after many people left when it came to light that the headmaster had been having an affair with the 3rd grade teacher. Sarcastically, I was shocked. I apologize if the story's too long and understand if it doesn't make it on the podcast, but you become one of my favorites out there and I never miss an episode. Creepy men and women are everywhere. Keep your loved ones close, and if your children tell you that something's making them feel uncomfortable, listen. Thank you, Brittany. So first of all, what country and era is that from? Because I felt like I was reading like a story of like a creep at like Hogwarts.
I was going to say that's got to be like England or UK or something.
The headmaster and all this
private
stuff.
Like probably not a boarding school, but like a private school or whatever.
Well, yeah, she did say it was like a private like religious school or something, but I can kind of see this situation where one of the teachers has like a creepy son that is like maybe they're just comfortable allowing him to roam the schoolyard while he's waiting for her to get off work or something.
Well, and like my immediate thought was this teacher obviously knows her son is a creep, but just like defends him and like weirdly allows him to do so because to her he can do no wrong.
In this case, though, it's that the story doesn't go very far. She tells her parents contact the school and shut it down.
Good. Oh, yeah.
That's how it should happen.
Absolutely. I'm confused, though, as to... Okay, so there was a mass exodus after it was found out that the headmaster was having an affair with a 3rd grade teacher.
Yeah.
It's like the whole Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky thing. I don't understand why that was such a big deal. 2 consenting adults?
It's an affair. It's a religious school. So...
I guess. But, like, not illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing that everyone would, like, quit the school over.
Right? Well,
but maybe this was a different time.
Maybe.
Nowadays, you'd be like, of course they are. They're all sleeping with each other.
Yeah, weird.